to another episode of An Angel and Unicorn Comic Book Reviews. As always, I'm Alan the Unicorn, and with me today is our Angel and just James. We will be spoiling the books for the week, and then we will, so if you haven't read them, you may want to take a pause, reread them, read them again, take notes, come back, see if you agree with us, see if we touched anything on anything you thought about it, or you can just come along with us on the adventure. Either way, we will be spoiling the books of the week, and we would love for you to like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell notifications so you can be notified of new videos. But until then, let us regale you with this week's books.
Tales of Daring Do.
Tales of daring. Tales of heroes and daring do's. Alright, James, you gonna go?
Yep.
Which one are you gonna do?
I think I'll start with Reaver.
Okay.
We've done this multiple times before.
I think we've reviewed all of them almost.
Yeah. This is issue 5. It's by Image. It's Justin Jordan, Rebecca Isaacs, and Alex Guimarães. But it's kind of a medieval Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to break into this prison to find out why the bad guys are able to see the future. So they have they got into the prison last issue, and one of their compatriots betrayed them, stabbed the leader, and
Stabbed the wizard that's supposed to be making the potion.
Yeah, who's leading the group.
Yeah.
Unwillingly, but so then they've got this other guy with them, the Devil's Child, the Breaker, the Reaver. He's this big, massive guy that just force of nature can't be stopped. So he
Kind of like James. With James. It's James' character.
Yeah.
Force of nature. Can't be stopped.
Yeah. Sure. Why not? So he breaks in, and they're shooting him with crossbows and attacking him, and he's just walking through them, and they're
or cleaving through them.
Yeah, and they're so there's no way he can still be. Like, they're shooting arrows through his armor into his head, and he just keeps on coming. So, and he's just laughing the whole time. And so they're freaking out trying to fight him. So then it flips to the little Raelish skin eater woman, and she's leading a prisoner breakout. And so she runs into the Reaver guy, and they team up. So then they flip to the main group who've been betrayed.
So it's the soldier, the wizard is dead, and then the mute kind of bodyguard girl, lady.
Yeah.
And then the aristocrat's the one that's betrayed him.
Right.
He's the one that killed the wizard.
And so he gives his reason. He says that in earlier ones he had caught a little messenger girl, and he tells them that he had sent a message with her saying he'd deliver everybody if they would promise to heal him of the poison. So they while they're working on neutralizing the poison, they come in with the news that the big guy is busting in, and they're I don't really know how to. Anyway, the stuff happens. Read the book. But they
Well, the big guy's kind of freeing everybody, kind of trying to get this. He's trying to help with the revolt. They're trying to. The big guy and the Reaver girl are trying to get to the other couple or the other guys, and the other guys are kind of trying. They're trying to be. They're kind of kidnapped, and the person that is that they've been trying to seek, this kind of mystic, almost voodoo kind of character that's bald, got all these like weird relics. He's kind of in it, and so there's a bunch of stuff like that with where they're talking about how
he's given the
wise.
supervillain monologue, and then the prisoners that they break out, the breaker guy and the Raelish woman are we need to break further into the prison, and all the people are like, well, that's certain death, and they said, well, you're out in the middle of the Arctic tundra. If you can leave by that door and die, or you can go in this door and die. He says, I'm going in this door.
Yeah.
And he mows through the next group
Barrage
of people.
Yeah.
So then back in the center where the people been betrayed, the captain and the mute bodyguard person, they're gonna torture them, and so then they skip to they're gonna heal the guy and
the aristocrat guy,
and there's blood and leeches, and he's
it's pretty gross.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. So so about then the mute
So the captain or the soldier guy is trying to distract the torturer.
Yeah.
And the torturer like gets distracted, so the mute bodyguard breaks free, kills the torturer, and so she frees the soldier guy. And then they go back and they realize that
the guy that can see the future can't see the future of the
wizard
Raelish woman because she's a skin eater, and that screws up the future stuff. So anything she does, they can't see.
Yeah.
So, and the captain doesn't understand how the mute got free. Well, then the mute reveals that she's the true
master
leader, and that she was just running the wizard guy as like a puppet, I guess, to subterfuge. You can't attack the leader if you don't even know who he is.
Yeah. And at this point she uses the torturer. She shoves her hand inside the back of the torturer and is like holding his spine and using him to verbalize all these things. Like she's using this magic to kind of like make him like into a human puppet.
Yeah.
Super gross and awesome at the same time.
Yeah. So she was obviously doing that with the other guy. So we didn't do this story justice, but it's a really good story.
It is.
And in one of the issues, they talk about that they wanted to get away from the traditional medieval tropes, and this is more like the colonial America. There's the French and the English and the Native Americans and the Spanish and so it's pretty interesting.
It really is. Like I don't feel like it's a completely original idea, but it has a lot of originality to it that makes it kind of fresh. I feel like it's a lot of fresh take on same characters, because honestly it really does have a very much of a Suicide Squad medieval. Like that's kind of like the best way to describe it.
And twists and turns and people being betrayed and secrets being revealed and
but they do really well. Like like the interactions
art
really
is
good.
fantastic.
So good. The dialogue is really great. Like they really got each character has their own little voice, and the way they talk and the way they do things is really neat. It definitely has, like you said, like twists and turns. I mean, there's humor in it. It's just they do really well with the pacing too. I don't feel like I'm being rushed through the story, but I feel like there's enough that there's action that I'm really enjoying.
They're releasing information when you need it.
Yeah.
Not too much. You're not being drowned in it, but you're not going, what? What?
I really like this one.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And like he said, the art's really good. They do really well with it. Like, it's almost Arthur Adams kind of look to it, where it's got a little bit more detail to it. But it's still, like, I just really impressed with this book. I really like it. It's one of my probably favorites.
I'm going to give it the full 5 horns.
I would too. I would give it 5 out of 5, especially now that it's kind of finding its footing and it's like number 5. Was it number 5? Yeah. I feel like it's definitely coming into its own kind of book. I'm curious to see if I wonder if they're going to make it an ongoing, like if it's going to be more stuff with these characters, or how they're going to do all that stuff, because I'm interested.
A lot of Image books are limited. And
right.
They do their run and then they either quit or they come back, in a year or two with a new story. So.
And I would be okay with either one. I would be okay with them ending the story because the story's been really great and they end up on they end it well. But I also would be okay if they continued it, because I could see where they could do more stories. Some of the characters are gone, so they could bring in more characters to do another mission, or they could go into more of the territorial stuff where they're talking about more of the the wildling kind of characters and the colonials and the French, and like they could they could go on. I could see where I would be interested in seeing more of this world, so I'm going to be okay with either way, whether they end it or not. But I mean, if they end it, I would definitely look forward to if they ever do another book or something like that. So,
or other things by this
for real
group. So
it's very, very, very good one.
It's muy bueno.
It's muy bueno. So I've got a couple different choices. I'm gonna see if I can pick one that's kind of. Let's do a Dollhouse. We did the DC, the Joe Hill, the Hill House. I think wasn't it last week? I think we did one. This is the same kind of same label, but it's a different kind of writer. It's written by Mike Carey and Joe Hill. The pencils are Peter Cross and Dan McDade. So I
think Joe Hill did the thing in the back, the 2-pager in the back.
Is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
I assume that they have, like, I'm assuming he's not doing all the writing duties, because he might be able to. He's talented. He might be able to.
His dad cranks him out.
That's true. So this one is it talks about. It's a family, and they kind of get this mysterious dollhouse sent to them as an inheritance, but it goes to the little girl, the daughter. The dad wants to get it appraised and sell it and get rid of it, because he wants money, and the mom is like, but it's not ours. We have, it went to her, so we can't do that. And so he's kind of irritated about it. They kind of allude to there is maybe some conflict between the husband and wife, and as it goes on further, you find out that they do have more and more conflict. He's a wife beater, and the wife is just trying to protect the daughter. But the daughter ends up playing with the dolls a lot, and she makes up these stories where they have all these things. And then there's a separate kind of a little story where these guys are surveying this land, and they find this weird cave, and the guy goes in, he goes, I'm only going to go 100 steps, and then I'll be back. He goes, that way, I'm not getting lost, but we can at least see how far this goes. So it's kind of like another little side story that goes a little bit differently. So it cuts back to the girl where she's talking to her dolls and playing with her dolls, and one of the dolls is alive. The mom comes out of the house, because it's a mom and a dad and 3 kids. And so the mom comes out and she goes, well, why don't you come play with us? And the daughter's like, I can't come play with you. I don't know how. And so she's like, say these magic words and you'll be able to come play with us too. And so she says these magic words and shrinks down to a little doll size and goes in the house. And they all talk about, you can do anything you want, just, don't go into the black door. And she's like, of course, what's the first thing she wants to do? She's like, well, what's the black door? So then they kind of intersperse in between where they go back to the explorer in the cave where he falls in and he finds this sleeping giant that's underneath the earth. cutting back to the house or the current times. Because the one where the guys going to the cave is more of a colonial time, I think, time period. It seems like they're more of a I don't know, a pilgrimish kind of look to them. So it's I think it's more closer to a colonial time. So then they cut back to the family where the daughter's really upset about the. She tells the little doll mom that she's upset about her dad and that her dad's and so they allude. They eventually the house asks her, do you want me to take care of your dad? Because I can take care of your dad. And she's like, no, I don't want him hurt or anything like that. And the doll's like, don't worry, let me take care of it. So they cut back to the guy that finds a cave where all of a sudden he's getting ready to just wake the sleeping giant, and then this girl shows up and says you shouldn't do that, and so she ends up seducing him, and he's like he just is spent after she has had her way with him. Cuts back to the little girl in the house where all of a sudden the black door appears. The little girl goes inside and explains that's when the house kind of entices her to do something, let me do something about it. And she's like, no, I don't want him to hurt my daddy. Then all of a sudden she gets expelled from the house, comes downstairs, takes a hammer while her dad's fixing something, and bludgeons him to death. So yeah, that was a little intense. It's interesting to see. It was kind of a little bit of a. I kind of thought I knew where it was gonna go, but then it kind of takes this little bit of a twist. I don't quite know if it was enough for me to be really interested in picking up number 2. It was okay. I feel like it's a one-shot book. I don't know why this thing needs to continue on. It should have been like kind of a one-and-done story, but it's not. So there's going to be more. So I don't know if it was enough interest. I don't think it was bad. I didn't think it was great. It was kind of middle ground and kind of boring. So I probably won't pick issue 2 up. But I could see maybe where this can somewhat continue on, but not enough to pique my interest to want to read more. So I would probably give this a 2.5 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because it's probably not my bag, probably not the story that I'm probably not the audience that they were looking for. It's maybe a little more suspense, horror, drama kind of readership. But the art was fairly decent. It was just okay. Again, it was just middle of the road, kind of okay. It was kind of lackluster. Everything was very dark for the most part. There's a few bright pages, but most of it was very dark and kind of subdued. And I don't know. It just wasn't my thing. And as far as the backup story, the Sea Dogs, I'm just not quite sure where they're going with that. Like, it's just kind of like these random pages. I know they build on each other, but I mean, I don't know. I hate backup stories when they're not the same book, because this is. Then it goes back to you have to get the other book that they're doing. So now you have to pick up 2 books to get the full story. So that kind of irritated me. But I mean, and like the small brief notes they give, it wasn't enough for me to be like, oh, I can't wait to pick up the next book so I can read this little tiny 3-page issue maybe. So all in all, I give it about 2.5 stars or unicorn horns. So it could have been better, but I'm also maybe not the audience they were looking for either. So yeah.
Okay.
So one out of 2 that we liked on the Joe Hill label. Because the other one was really good. Yeah. I really liked it. I liked the way it was laid out and everything like that. So, all right, you do the next one, and then whatever, I'll do the other one that you didn't do.
Okay. The next one I'm doing is Folklords from Boom Studios. It's by Matt Kent, Matt Smith, and Chris O'Halloran. It starts with a kid getting ready to go to school, wearing typical school clothes, and then everybody's like, oh, you're wearing that? Well, then he goes out into kind of a medieval looking village, and everybody's wearing their stuff, and he's wearing a coat and tie. And,
He's more like a more modern, and they're
so
more
he'd be like a, a cosplayer.
yeah. Like wearing your Renaissance outfit to
Yeah.
private school.
Yeah. So then he comes to the troll that runs the ferry across the river, and he goes to a party, and it's a bunch of his schoolmates, and I guess the graduation thing is you have to pick a quest to go on, and so they're all deciding, what quest they're gonna pick. They make this out that this is kind of your defining moment of before you become an adult.
Yeah. Coming of age.
Like one of the guys says he's gonna eat some mermaid flesh and live forever, and they're like, "But you can't even swim." And the other guy's like, "Billy ate mermaid flesh, and he got sick and died. So it doesn't make you live forever."
And then they're like, "I don't even think it was mermaid flesh." Like,
yeah. So then they're like, "Well, what are you wearing?" He's like, "It's my questing suit. I'm going to look for the folk lords." And yeah, dun dun dun. And so everybody's, be careful. You can't. Don't say that around the librarians. And you don't know who the librarians are yet, but so they're making fun of him, and he runs off, and one of the girls comes out to talk to him, and she's trying to talk him out of it, and telling him that he's greedy for secrets, and so you get the feeling that she kind of likes him, and he says something stupid and pisses her off, so she leaves, and as guys do.
true.
And they hint that he's always late, so he's dreaming about the modern world, and then he realizes that he's late for school, so he runs across, and he comes to the troll, who he's like, "I have to owe you your toll," and he goes in, and everybody's doing their
Picking their quests.
announcing their quests, and so the one of the girls, "I'm gonna find me Jack the Giant Killer, and I'm gonna ask him, why you gone and done that?" So they're going through the thing, and then one of his friends says that he's gonna go find the folk lords, and he's like, "Oh man, that's mine, you stole it." And then the librarians show up and grab his friend, and
they're kind of like these weird knights, like these
Yeah.
cloaked, masked knights that are kind of
and they're librarians, and they're like, we require silence. I thought that was a little funny librarian joke. But so they say, as a result of that there's dangerous ideas, and that we need to protect you, so we're canceling all of the quests, and we're assigning our own, and that you're not allowed to even talk about the folk lords, and and they say you can't leave the
town.
the town, and so they're any violation will be punished by immediate execution. And they hand out the quests, and it's find a rebellious gnome and report them to the librarians. It's all very fascist, secret police type stuff, and so everybody's like, just toe the line, don't make waves, and so then he finds his friend that announced he was going to do the Folklords thing, and he's like, I'm sorry, I panicked, I didn't have a good idea. And so the kid's like, well, meet me at sundown, and we're going to do this. We're going to do a proper quest. So they cross into the woods, and they run into a librarian, and this one's dressed up in armor like a knight. And he said, what are you doing out here? Failure to follow the rules punishable by immediate execution. Where do you think you're going? And they make up some lame story, and the guy says, that's disappointing because I thought you were going on a real quest. And so then they head off to find the Folklords, and that the guy's like, so what are the Folklords? And they says, I don't know, that's part of the quest. And that's the end of the first issue. So I like it. It was pretty stingy with the information, and but I'll probably continue to read it.
It was quirky. Like there was.
It was quirky. Yeah. The art was kind of simple, but it was good. I could tell everybody apart. That's one of my pet peeves.
It reminded me a lot of Fables.
Yeah.
Sometimes that Fable art with what is his name? Bill
Willingham.
Yes, his art can be kind of simple in some areas, and then detailed in others. And I felt like that was definitely something. There was simplicity to it, but then there would be like little tiny details that looked really neat. So it reminded me kind of a Fables feel to it, I guess. I really liked. I thought it was really fun, but like you, I wanted more, and I wish there could have been more. But I mean, like I feel like they did pace it well. Like I didn't feel really rushed, but I felt like I got enough information. I felt like they set up the premise, set up some of the characters, and so I'm curious to see where they're gonna go with it. Like, but it was kind of an interesting little read. It was quick, it's fast, so I really liked it. I'd give it probably 3.5 unicorn horns.
Yeah, I'd concur.
Yeah. So I really, I thought it was a fun one. I was actually surprised. I thought it was gonna be really like a piece of junk, but like it's gonna be. And I was like, got through. I was like, it's actually I'm kind of interested, even though like they have like the threat of death, and I'm still like. It's still kind of a happy book, There was kind of just a quick little humor and silliness that I thought was really fun. So the last one I'm going to do is Far Sector. It is DC. It is written by N.K. Jemisin, and pencils are Jamal Campbell.
And it's sort of in main continuity because it's Green Lantern, but it's isn't it Young Animals?
Yes, the Young Animals.
So it's kind of bridging both worlds.
Yes, and they have but they put themselves in a place to where she doesn't necessarily have to be in the whole DC universe. So you probably won't ever see her in the DC universe unless they bring them in for something special. But for the most part, like she doesn't have to be. Like the way that they've set it up, she's in the farthest sector, as far as you can go, and probably further than that. And they even say that they're like in the far sector. And probably further than that, So she's way off in nobody's land, and she's by herself. She kind of has a Green Lantern power, but it's kind of like it's a kind of a unique-ish Green Lantern power. She doesn't charge her batteries. Like she doesn't quite make the same constructs as like some of the other Green Lanterns do. Like she doesn't fly a lot, and it's kind of a quirky Green Lantern, I feel like. Even her ring looks a little bit different, too.
No, I didn't get that she didn't. I just figured we didn't see her charge her battery. I didn't. I didn't. Did it say that she didn't?
Not in the book. In the I think in the letters, like there was that little ending page, and it talks about like she doesn't charge her battery. She doesn't. She does her powers are a little bit different. So I think they're gonna make it.
I didn't read those, so.
Oh, I don't know why I happen to read them. So this world is known peace for 500 years, and all of a sudden they have a murder, and so she, as a Green Lantern, is there to help kind of solve the murder. But the first couple pages of her trying to establish that they don't have any really forensics. She's gonna have to figure things out. She's an investigator, but she's never investigated a murder, and so everybody's trying to figure things out and see what's gonna happen. So they find this dead body. They're trying to get it to a forensic lab, or trying to figure out some forensics for it. And so that's what they spend the first half, and they kind of establish this kind of feel to the character for the first half. Also getting through like some of the different interactions, with the cops and stuff like that, because they're peacekeepers. They're not used to this, so a lot of them are like really repulsed by all this stuff. A lot of them are like, I'm very sick about this. And then she goes to this it's not trinary, what is it called? Trilogy. And so she goes to this thing called the Trilogy, which is a kind of a council. And it's a council of all the different worlds. So there's, this is where they establish the different kind of creatures that they have on this world. There's one that's kind of like a wild, animalistic kind of thing that lives in somebody's body, and then they are birthed like through their body. And they, then there is one that's kind of a computer things, and they have the @ symbol. It's called something, isn't it?
The AT-AT?
Yeah. But is that @ symbol's called something? I don't know. Anyway, so they're called the AT-AT. Then the Na, which are kind of, I don't know, they have like this weird tail and like wings and like all these, some of them have like these little markings around their face. And then the K-Topli are the ones that are kind of like animals that kind of are birthed inside something, and then they come out and explode. So she goes to this council meeting, and she's trying to explain to them, what's going on, and she's trying to get them to help, and you kind of get this feel that there's a underlying tension between all the worlds, but they've all had peace, and they talk about that later on, where they, their peace is kind of tumultuous. They had like all this war, and then they destroyed almost the entire world, so then they realize that they can't war, because if they do, nobody's going to have anything. So they kind of get along with each other, but they snipe through most of the meeting, and then it goes into she meets with one of the one of the guys from the council, and they kind of have like a little back and forth tete-a-tete, and then she goes to interrogate the person that the suspect they have captured, that has been kind of deemed the person that made the original murder. And that's what she's afraid of. She's afraid that because there's one murder, there's going to be several. So she goes to interrogate the person, and when they get there, the suspect has been killed, and something is escaping, and so she goes after it. I have many feels about this book. I am very torn about this book. For one, I was a little confused. I got really confused on how I feel like the history of the world is a little convoluted to me. Like, they
kept saying that they had gotten rid of emotions because emotions led them to destroying both their worlds, but everybody shows plenty of emotion, and then they're like, well, see, if we actually had emotions, this would be much more heated. And I'm like, no emotions is Spock, not these people.
Yeah. And everybody, and I mean, I don't know, like, I liked the characters, but then I kind of didn't. Like, I wasn't really drawn to any of them. I am in love with the Green Lantern, though. I love her. Like,
I didn't care for her at all.
Really? I love the way they wrote her. I like the she's kind of, like, strong, but she's like, inside, she's, like, freaking out the whole time. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing! But then on the outside, she's, like, got these little, like, kind of, like, little twists about her trying to
See, I
keep
thought the twist was going to be that she wasn't a Green Lantern at all, and that's why she did. You know, she says, "Well, I choose not to fly." It's like she doesn't know how because she's not an. I still am not completely sold that won't be the twist.
It may be
that she's faking it.
That she's. Well, she has some kind of Green Lantern powers. Like she.
Well, she grabbed somebody else's ring, but if she doesn't know how to use it,
that's true. I don't. That might be, but I don't think I didn't get that feels from the book.
I felt that through the first like 2/3 of the book. I'm like, she's gonna, she's a con artist or something, and then it seemed like they were going away from that, but it wouldn't surprise me if it came back to that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would be surprised, but that's kind of an interesting twist. I didn't feel like that. Like I didn't know. I didn't get that feel, but I did. There was something that wasn't quite logical. Isn't the right word.
Sure.
Linear about the whole thing. Like I felt like there was it was almost convoluted, but it wasn't because I understood everything, but seemed to be a lot of it. Maybe it was just like a lot of information coming at me at one time.
Well, they're introducing all new characters and a new world and
in a scenario
a scenario. Yeah, too many.
It got it quite a bit. Yeah, but I didn't think it was bad per se.
Everything from scratch. And it just hard to do.
So the writing for me wasn't the greatest. Like I wish maybe they would have found a different way to pace it, or a different, like maybe if they would have focused on one thing and kind of slowly introduced things. But it seems like they were just like, okay, here we go. Like good job, let's get to it. But the one thing that saved it for me, like that I was like I'm gonna give it about a 4 unicorn horns, was the art. It is.
I didn't care for that.
Oh my god, I'm in love with Jamal. I loved him in Naomi. I loved him in this. I love her look. I think she looks amazing. I love her costume. I love her hair. I love her glasses. I like the look of all the aliens. I like the weird wings and the tail, and the world looks amazing, and like all the different flying things. And I was just like, I was in it to win it. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, James. You were broken. But I thought it was so much fun. I feel like I could almost like frame almost any of those pictures, and it would be an amazing piece to have like a big piece of art of that. And I don't know. I love his art. Did you read Naomi? Okay, it's very similar. I mean, like it's just there's like a watercolor comic book feel to it. It
was okay. I didn't hate it, but it didn't add any more information to the story to help me sort it out.
I don't care, but when she's like had that cape on and the glasses at the very beginning, and then all of a sudden she's got like this like cool shoulder pads. She's got this awesome belt, and like, and then when they get to the end, and she's the creature like flies out of the door, she goes running. She's got this really dynamic pose coming around the corner, like she's getting ready to kick somebody's butt. I just was like, I'm in. Like, so I. Honestly, like the art saved it for me. Like the art like really uplifted the book to begin with, and for me it kind of helped me understand some of the things, because like their one characters, the AT-ATs, don't have noses, so that kind of helped me, because I do feel a lot of the aliens all look the same. Like each, even though they're supposed to be different species, like I still feel like this alien looks like this alien and this alien looks like this alien, but the different species look different. Like the ones with the wings look different, and the ones with the AT-ATs they don't have the noses, and then the other ones kind of look like a feral kind of thing, and so I was really I really thought it elevated it up. So that's why I would give it 4 out of 5 unicorn horns, not because of the story, unfortunately. So I'm curious to see how long. I'm definitely gonna get issue 2 and see what's gonna happen with this. And it was actually pleasantly surprised that I was as interested as I am, because I really didn't think. I was like, meh. And I don't like the DC Young Animals label anyways. I feel like it's like
quirky for the sake of being quirky.
Yeah, like Doom Patrol, I don't understand it. Like I don't think I'm smart enough to get that kind of stuff. But I was really surprised that this one was one that I was really interested in. So yeah. So that's our picks of the week. If you get a chance, like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear if you enjoyed the books, if you agree with our opinions, especially some of the other ones. It seems like we were kind of at odds today, which is a little bit rare. Normally
we both like
yeah.
Folklords, and we both love Reaver. So,
but I mean, like, but I think it's interesting that we both like Folklords, but for different reasons. So it's like I like it. I think it's fun. So we would love to hear your opinions. What did you think about each of the books, or if there's something that we missed this week that maybe we should check out? Let us know. I did only read 16 this week instead of 26, so I was only 10 down this week. So I can definitely add stuff to my list. But until then, we hope you enjoyed this show, and we hope your pull list is full. Bye.